Hi all, welcome back to the Shiny Tackle channel. I'm Steffen. In the last video we had a first look at the Zenon MG-LTX, the new flagship reel from Abu Garcia. And today we're going to look at tuning options, bait finesse tuning, so getting into super light spools and what we can do with them. We also have a look at braking systems, so centrifugal, magnetic brake. Most likely we'll have to do a conversion, and we will look at several ways to convert either the reel to magnetic brake or the new spool to a centrifugal brake. And we'll do that with the Zenon MG-LTX and also with an MGXtreme 2, the previous flagship bait finesse model from Abu Garcia in Europe and the United States. So let's jump right in, and we'll start with the MGXtreme 2. So we'll start with the MGXtreme 2. Which is the previous flagship model from Abu Garcia in the bait finesse or ultralight fishing space. This is by design a reel with a centrifugal brake, IVCB 4. That means that the brake side plate looks like this. We have this metal plate where the brake arms on the spool rub against, flap out based on centrifugal force, and then create friction on this plate, and that's what creates the drag. So in this case, this reel is equipped with a tuning spool, so you can see ultralight, super shallow honeycomb spool, and these spools typically come without the centrifugal brake ring and the brake arms. So you have two options. As said in the beginning, you can either change the spool to one that's suitable for centrifugal braking, or you can change the reel. Now, there's two ways. There's the cheap DIY, bit scrappy looking way. You can stick magnets to the metal ring, and you have to hold them in place with glue. That's what I did here. And today we're going to change that out and do it a bit more nicer way with an actual magnet ring. This is an aftermarket ring I got from China. And I'll show you how to do that. So for this, in theory, you would not even need to disassemble. If you would just want to add magnets to it, I would still recommend it just to not get glue in the wrong spaces. Now we will disassemble it to then install the proper magnet ring. For that, I will open these 3 screws. Watch out not to lose any of them. And now this will pop off. There's a spring behind it. You can put away the side plate. And now we only focus on this mechanism. Second step is we open these 3 small springs on the back. You can't really confuse these with the other screws because they are much smaller. Just put these to the side. Then we can pull this apart. We can see these 3 springs. Careful not to lose them. And there we have now just the brake ring with its plastic holder. We'll put this to the side and now have a look at the replacement one with magnets. In this case, it even comes with its own screws, so we'll just use them, although I think they are pretty much identical to the original ones. I'll get the screws off first. Then we take this plate here, insert the ring, 3 holes, there's no wrong way of orienting it. Push it in all the way, then add the springs onto these 3 little shafts. Place the holding ring in a way that this small plastic pin meets the hole, so we have the right orientation. Like that, hold it in place. It can be a little bit tricky because of the spring, but generally should not be a problem. And then we add in the screws. Only screw them in a little bit at first and fix them when I have all 3 screws installed. That's number 1. Number 2. Number 3. So while disassembling, this little washer came out. I will just quickly insert it back in, make sure it doesn't fall out when I install the whole mechanism in the side plate. To do that, just add it in a way that these holes match the fixtures here. Push it in place. You might need a little bit of force to do it just because of the spring. And then add the screws again. There we have it. This is the finished side plate ready to be inserted back in and to be used with the tuning spool. Now I'm gonna use this little mechanism here to change the brake setting. To show you one thing, now it's on max and I will turn it now to minimum. What you can see is that the brake ring comes out. So the brake ring moves closer towards the spool, meaning brake force gets stronger. That means now with the magnetic setting, this actually is max brake and this is minimal brake. So you have to keep that in mind when you switch between reels and have one converted like this. Keep in mind max is now on the other end of the range of settings. Okay, now here we have the tuning spool, the honeycomb ultralight spool. There's also the original spool. Looks something like this. Here I took away 2 of the brake arms because I didn't need all the brake power. What you can see is you can also use the original spool. This is another MGXtreme 2 spool, and here I added a little metal ring to also use this or be able to use this with the magnetic braking system. And there you have it. Now we can set up this reel assemble it completely. This we do not need anymore. This is the original ring with some DIY magnets glued onto them. I will just keep this as a spare, and just gonna quickly put the screws in to not lose them. And then in a second I will show you the finished reel. Put the spool back in. Easier if you do it the right way. Add the side plate, lock it, and here we have it. Just quickly show you how the spool behaves. Now this is on minimum brake setting. It says maximum, it is minimum. And you see it spins freely for number of seconds. Switch it to the other end of the scale, maximum. Spins a very good wire. So here you have it, how to transform the reel from magnetic to, or from centrifugal to magnetic braking system. Okay, so that's about the MGXtreme 2. Now we'll have a look at the Zenon, do some tuning with it. Mainly, we'll again focus on the braking system. Let's dive in. So here we have the reel. Comes in this nice nylon case, which is a nice touch. This is the reel. Here you see the original spool. It's a deep spool. It's strongly ported, so only weighs 8.7 grams. But if you want to use it for bait finesse purposes, it can get heavy once you have a whole lot of line on it. So using an even lighter and more shallow spool is recommended if you want to cast super light lures. Let's pop this open. You have the side plate, you have the metal ring that is the surface where these brake arms, brake blocks run on. And that's it so far for the rear. Now what I have here is a tuning spool. It's like for the MGXtreme, it's a super light, strongly ported, no, it's not ported, it's a honeycomb spool. You see, in contrast to the MGXtreme, we have now this longer axis going all the way through the gear plate. And obviously this is lacking the centrifugal brake arms, brake blocks that we need to use it with the original braking system. To fix that, I have these parts here. They are straight from Abu Garcia. You basically need 3 types of parts. This is the brake ring holder, and then in addition to that you need these little brake blocks. And you need brake arms, which are these. In this case, I already assembled brake blocks onto them. Let's get these out. This is an IVCB 4. We have 4 brake arms, and basically this is very, very easy. We just put them in place here on the brake ring, This can be a bit flimsy with brake arms falling out while you insert others. Try to get it right the first time here. And there we have them. We should make sure that they move very freely, so they fall back down just by their own weight. Okay, so only then we can be sure that they also act properly once installed and once we cast. And now this works very easily actually, because if we put this onto the reel, it just clicks into place. So there we have it. It's installed already. You can see these arms move freely, and just like that, we're ready to go. Not sure, this might come off after a longer time of using it. Then I would recommend to just add a tiny drop of super glue on the far end from where the brake arm's located, so here and there, and then it will never come off and you're good to use it for as long as you want. So let's pop the stock spool out and the tuning spool in. Reattach the side plate, and just like that, we're done already. We can do a little test. Gonna spin it on max brake settings. It brakes rather quickly. So now I turn it to minimum brake setting. Oh, it's a maximum brake setting, and it stops super quick. Yeah, so here's the difference again. Awesome. And just like that, you're ready to go with your Zenon MG-LTX to cast really super light lures. Today I'm going to show you a second tuning step we're going to do. There's actually not a whole lot of tuning that should be done. It has the bearings in all the right places. It has carbon handle, carbon drag star. So not much to do, but one thing I want to try, actually first time for me doing this. We're doing this on an Abu Garcia at least. We will add a different line guide. And what you can see here in comparison is that the line guide is much wider. It has a ceramic inlay, so sure to hold up very well. And of course, the idea of a larger line guide is to have less resistance, a bit smoother angles when casting, and when the reel comes off, the angle between the spool, especially when the line is on the outer edges of the spool, get a smoother angle towards the line guide. Okay, so how does it work? We'll open up the reel and then I'll show you step by step how to go through it. So first of all, I will remove the side plate again. It pops right off. We will not need this anymore. Same as with the spool, just put it away for now. And then we have here, this is the axis on which the level wind turns, and we have two separate axes to support the line guide. So we have to open these up and then actually pull the whole construction out through the gear side plate. So also here we will have to open up the reel completely. It's a bit bigger operation, so we'll go through it step by step. I will first remove the handle. handle retainer. Now the handle nut. Put this to the side. The handle itself comes off, and now the really nice star drag. Now we have these washers and the clicker that make the drag click. Gonna pull these off, and now we're at the stage where we can open the actual side plate. We have 3 screws here on the outside. We have 1 screw here, 1 screw here with a grease port, and yeah, let's open these up and then see if we can open the reel itself. When opening these up, you should make sure to be aware which screws go where, because they're not all the same length, and that will make reassembly easier if you have them separated. So this one, for example, is a lot shorter than the first one from the bottom here. Okay, so we'll open the last 2 screws from the inside. And now, as you can see, the side plate should be able to open. You always have to play around a little with the loop port. I'm pushing a bit from the inside to get it to pop out. Oh, there we have it. This is it, because otherwise this is in the way of the main gear. Okay, now we can pull the whole gear side plate off. This is what it looks like from the inside. Put it to the side, and now here we have the gears. So what we want to access is the parts where the level wind and the access for the level wind enter the side plate here. So to do so properly, we have to also remove the main gear. You can just pull it off. Now this is the part where it gets quite greasy. And here we have it. So this is the little gear wheel that turns, the level bind. First, I will now open here, so we get these little axes out. And there's an equivalent screw on the opposite side. Now we should be able to remove these. No, wait, Let's also remove this black little brace up front here. Again, with screws on each side. Okay, obviously, so this comes off quite easily. I'm going to place it to the side, and now also this side bracing falls off basically by itself. And also on the other side. So now we're getting closer. First of all, I will remove the front pin that we have here. And now secondly, the back pin. What's left now is the level wind. And this now actually is the trickiest part of the whole disassembly, which is removing this safety ring here. Why is it tricky? It's actually not super difficult, but this little pin is really likely to jump anywhere. I've spent hours crawling on the floor trying to find it after I've lost it. So please excuse that you're not really able to see much, but I will try to get it off without losing it. That's why I will hold on to it. Okay, now the pinion gear fell out. I will just move this to the side. It's just easier handling. And get back to the level wind. Also, if you know a clever way for how to remove these, feel free to let me know in the comments. So now you see it's halfway off. I'll try to grab it with the pliers. Just, okay, there it is. And it hasn't flown away somewhere. I would call this a success. Now we can push on this, or first we have to remove this little washer. Right, now we can push the axis a bit further down into here, and you can see it pops out on the other side. Here it's secured onto the gear wheel with a tiny bolt. Take that out, slide off the wheel, and now it's loose. And I have to see, how do we do this now? Of course. Now actually the line guide is fixed onto the pinion gear through this screw here. Actually would have been smarter to remove that earlier while everything else was still fixed in place. Now we'll just have to do it now. Although this obviously isn't the best way, because now it's all a bit shaky. Okay, so I had to get a different screwdriver that better fits, and here we have it now. Now this comes loose. So in this little cap sits a small metal piece. Just gonna shake it a bit till it comes out. We have a little washer first, and then this basically acts like a tooth that grabs onto the level wind. Okay. Now that this comes out, we can pull the axis out of the level wind, and these two separate now. And now this is disassembled as far as we have to go today to change out the line guide. Okay, we leave the level wind like this, get to unpacking the new line guide, and then take it from there to reassemble the reel. So here we go with the new line guide, and now we can also compare it better. You can see it is wider in diameter, it's much more slim in thickness, which also means the line, when it comes off the spool, has more space or more distance it can cover towards the line guide, towards the point where it's bent, which means this is the second factor that smoothes out a little these sharp angles when the line comes from the very left, very right hand side of the spool to the line guide. So it's the bigger diameter, and that you move the point where the line is bent actually further away from the actual spool. Okay, this is the old one. I put it aside. Basically, the new one follows the exact same mechanism. You have this little front tub, I would say. I will put in the little washer. Have to get it out of the old tub first. Here we have the little washer, and I insert it here. I will add this piece here. This is basically a little kind of tooth that grabs onto the level wind. Now we'll thread this onto the level wind. Basically, you can go from either side. It sits on here loosely, and now we'll add this little tooth plus the cover. Screw it down by hand. This is kind of perforated on the outside. You can easily screw it by hand. And now you can just do a little test with your hand, and you can see it moves perfectly. Okay, so this is the step where we go into the actual reassembly of the reel. And for that reason, I will have to take it out again. I have to get this kind of tooth out. There we go. Pull off the line guide and then place it from the gear side to the other side through the frame. Not all the way, because now we have to add in the line guide. We can push it through and now fixate it onto the level wind. Stick in the tooth and add the knob that fixes it. There we have it, and we can see it still moves the way it's supposed to. Okay, now we can continue the assembly on this side. At first, we have this plastic piece which helps to keep the level wind in place on this on the brake side plate. Let's keep it like that. Then on the other side we have the gear that we will fix with a little pin that goes through it. I'll do it with pliers so you have a chance to see something. I hope I can do it with pliers. Should work fine. Add this into, push it into place. Now we fix it on the other side again. We have this washer first, and then we have the little safety clip. Now this is basically just as critical as disassembly. You have to apply a bit of force to get it on there. If something falls off, jumps off, again, this little ring could go anywhere, so just be very careful here. And it does require a bit of pressure, so this worked out like a charm. And now we have this fixed in place perfectly. Okay, as we can see, this is still loose. We still need these two supporting axles that we push through here from the gear side plate. First, the thinner one is the rear one. Make sure everything's aligned. Actually, I just noticed right now, how does it work? Yeah, this goes behind. This goes behind the line guide, and the thicker one goes through the line guide. Okay. And both of them should come out on the non-handle side plate. This can be a bit tricky to get them aligned and get them where they need to go. I'm confident. Yes, okay. Now we have it. Great. To hold them in place, we will use these pieces here. So I was not really careful. So we have to see which one belongs on what side. Okay, this goes here, and then this does go here. Still, this has to be like better. Okay, there we go. I just hold them in place with my fingers like this, and then they're actually fixed in place by this front bracing with the tiny black screws. Gonna get those in there. Number one. And number two. Terrific. Now we have these screws here that go into these small silver bracings. They're just there to hold the bracing in place, so no need to be super tight or damage the plastic. Now we can see when I turn here on the main gear shaft, the level wind turns perfectly, it's very smooth. So that part is done. All works all right. Also, the new level wind or the new line guide looks very nice, very slick. My view, better look than the original plastic piece with the golden ring. This dark ceramic looks really good, but mostly, of course, we're interested in performance. So with that, we'll continue the assembly. I put in the pinion gear, which goes in like this. Ideally, you put them in at the same time, the plastic piece and the gear itself. Okay, then you add the springs back on. Like this. Next we have the main gear, which you can just slide on here, arrange that it meets the pinion gear properly. So this video is not about greasing the rear. I will though distribute this grease a bit around the shaft because it just sat there on this washer here doing nothing. Okay, from here basically we're almost there. We can close the reel back up. Well, I just slide the gear side plate or the gear side plate onto the reel. It should slide all the way down, if not something's wrong. In this case it does, which is perfect. And from here on we can start assembling and fixing the screws in place. The very long screw goes into the bottom. So it might take a little bit longer now because everything is getting increasingly greasy. After I fix the first screw, I will now see to the loop port. You can slide it in place and then screw it in from the reverse side. Just go next with the second screw from the reverse side. And finish up with the last screws from the outer side. This one doesn't want to. We can now go over to the non-handle side plate. This is particularly easy. Just slide in the spool, set the side plate on top, and then it clicks into place. Actually, I noticed sometimes it doesn't really, it clicks when you open. It does not really click when you close it. But so far no issue to me. Seems to hold in place just fine. Okay, let's go to the final touches. We'll add on the clicker assembly with these two washers. With the washers, you always have to make sure that they're in the right orientation. Both of them are bent, and together they should be in a bit of an O shape. I'll try to show it to you here. So this one's basically bent upwards. So I put this one on the other way around, where the outside faces downwards. Not sure if the camera picks it up, maybe like this. So that the outboard edges meet, and thereby you can get a bit of a spring tension. And now we're almost done. I'll screw down the star jack. And then we have the handle. There's still a washer sticking to it, so make sure you have that in place. And add the handle nut. I feel like these are always tricky to find the right position, because sometimes they tend to go on in a bit crooked way. Here we have it. Tighten it down, but no need to go crazy here. no excessive amount of force needed. See if the nut retainer is in the right position. Here it could use a tad bit more. Now it's perfectly aligned with the retainer screw. Add that in. Screw it down. And there you have it. The reel is complete. Everything's running fine. The pinion gear and the level might need a bit of grease to get them nice and smooth. Now they changed them and got a bit of grease on. Away from there and onto my fingers. The only pieces we have left is this. This is the old line guide, so obvious to have these as leftovers. And yeah, with that, we're finished with this video. Now we have here Zenon MG-LTX tuned with a honeycomb spool transferred to Centrifugal brake system, and we have a new line guide which is ultra slim, so the line touches it further away from the spool. It's also wider, which both of these factors help with the angle of the line and hopefully help it cast smoother. So thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. That's it for today from the Shiny Tackle channel. We looked at the Zenon MG-LTX, tuning it to perfection for light fishing, and had a look at braking systems. Abu Garcia gives you basically the option between centrifugal braking, IVCB, IVCB4, IVCB6, and magnetic braking, MagTrax. Plus there's the Infini brakes, which is not featured on any of these reels. Let me know what you want to see. We can look at other cool reels I have. This is a super tuned MGXtreme 2. Also has a different line guide. Also has some lots of cosmetic changes actually, but which they make it fit the Fantasista Studios 3 perfectly. Japanese Abu Garcia baitfinesse rod, absolutely beautiful. So with that, let me know what you want to see. Maybe we'll do some comparison videos in the future, see how they cast. Until then, tight lines, and see you next time.